Hi, it's Leslie Meredith with ITE at Africa Oil Week, and I am here this morning with Paul McDade, CEO of Tullow Oil, who gave the keynote address this morning. Welcome.
Hi, thanks.
It was great listening to your address this morning, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about price, oil price versus certainty, uncertainty, and where do we stand now?
So I think there's a much greater feeling of certainty amongst the industry. We've been through quite a dramatic 3 years. I've been in the industry for around 30 years, and I think this is the most dramatic period of uncertainty. But the industry's dealt with it well, and now it feels like we're getting into a period of certainty. I mean, as an industry, we've been at lower prices than where we are today. The key thing is certainty on price and the removal of the uncertainty.
And feeling more certain, how will that affect investment moving forward?
Well, I think what you'll see is both companies making investment. They can make investment decisions with confidence that there's maybe a floor on the price. Governments can then adjust fiscal terms with some certainty around a price level. And then what you'll start to see, I think, is more transactions happening. Because, you know, the thing that stops transactions is the gap between the buyers and sellers' view of the future. As we see more certainty, that gap closes, and then you see more transactions happening.
We've heard about that we're starting to see convergence.
Yeah, no, I feel like even this morning there was a number of deals announced, one large one in Africa, and I think we'll see a little bit more of that. I say it's certainty on price, and that perspective of the buyer and the seller starting to line up. Just in the same way as when we're trying to invest in these major multi-billion-dollar developments, you need to have a certainty and no gap between the government's view of the future and the oil company's view of the future. That then allows us to define fiscal terms that actually suit both parties.
Excellent. Where do you see the opportunities in Africa, investment in Africa, oil and gas, and how does that fit into the global market?
So we see opportunities all across Africa. I mean, we're mainly focused in sub-Saharan Africa, but we're spread all the way from Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana and the west coast over to Uganda and Kenya and the east coast. So, you know, we're in, I think, 16 countries at the moment within Africa. We're continuing to build our exploration portfolio. And then, you know, recently we had the ruling between the boundary dispute between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, a great indication of two nations, you know, looking at a pretty important issue, going to the United Nations Convention and Tribunal, resolving the issue in an orderly manner, and then giving that certainty for investment. So we're back investing actually in both sides. We'll be back with a drill rig investing in our 10 and Jubilee fields in Ghana. And we also announced, I think it was just about 2 weeks ago, that we'd picked up a number of new exploration licenses in Côte d'Ivoire. So, you know, I think that whole process was a great demonstration of the stable investment environment we have in West Africa.
That's fantastic. Moving forward, you spoke a little bit about what we need to do to prepare for 2020s, and you talked about collaboration. How does that fit into the scheme of things?
I think, you know, when at the stage of exploration, you need collaboration with government. They need to put on the table a contract that's acceptable. We put very high risk dollars investments in these countries that we're working, and we need a fiscal arrangement that manages that. As we move on to development, we need collaboration with government. I mean, the best example in my career is with the Ghana, where we sat down together with the government. We made a major discovery, the first discovery that Ghana had made back in 2007. And we had a major deep water development, $3.5 billion investment from the private sector, and we did that in 40 months, from discovery through to first oil. And people ask, well, how did you manage to cut the normal cycle time in half? We say it wasn't technology, it was collaboration with the government of Ghana and the private investors.
All right, that's fantastic. Now you're also the major sponsor of Africa Oil Week. How do you see, what is the importance of this event to the industry?
I think the event is one of really networking. I've been coming to this conference, I think, since about 2004, so quite a few years. It is the central conference, we think, in Africa, which is why we sponsor it, as Africa's leading independent. But we like to ensure that the key players in the countries in which we're working are here. They're here to network with us and with our teams in Tullow. They're here to network with our partners. And actually, what's the great thing is the governments in Africa actually get the chance to network together. So, the minister in Ghana will get the chance to sit down with the minister from Uganda and compare notes and compare thoughts on the industry. They get a sense of what's happening in our industry. So it's a huge networking event and really important for kind of the investment in Africa.
Well, great. Well, I want to thank you for getting us off to such a great start this morning, and hope you enjoy the rest of the week.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity.
All right.
Thank you.